Okay, here's the HE162 complete. I like the kit, I like the way it went together. Went together fairly easy. There's one thing I want to... Here it is, right here. This tube of glue is what they give you with the kit. They want you to use this glue to glue the wing, the tail section, canopy, and the cowl hatch. Well, the only thing I used this glue on was the canopy and the rudders, and this is what I had left. So I decided to go with some Gorilla Glue, which is the fast cured, which dries quick. Dries within like maybe an hour. It'll cure pretty hard within an hour. I used the glue that was supplied with the kit for the rudders, but I didn't like it. It was like it was too loose. It stayed too pliable. So for extra support, I used a Gorilla Glue. And what I did was, with Gorilla Glue, if you gotta wet the surfaces that you're going, just wet them up a little bit with a brush, and don't put a bead. Don't lay a bead, because this here glue will expand 3 to 4 times. So what I did was I took drops like about 1.5 inches apart on the top, 1.5 inches apart on the bottom, and glue them in, which you'll have access coming out of the bottom and the top because it will expand. So what you got to do is take a rag and wipe it clean, but wipe it clean while it's still wet. Don't wait for it to dry, because you'll wind up cutting it with a knife. Also, a nice feature about this here, everything was pre-installed. The servo was all pre-installed. It's got a groove cut on the bottom of the wing and the side of the fuselage with a wire lace, very neatly. And I just put Scotch tape so the wire will come out, but it's a very neat application. I like that. There's one thing I didn't like. First of all, they gave me an Allen wrench, but I had no idea what this Allen wrench, and they had nothing in the manual about this. The only thing I can think of, it fits the nose wheel, which is no access to the collar. So you would have to cut a piece of the fuselage away to access that collar, because I think the hole that loosens this collar is up in this, about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch up in this here area here. So you need to cut that away. Another thing, if you needed to change anything like the servo on this here nose wheel is mounted right about here, you would have to take the canopy out, and the servo is glued in, so you might have to hog out a little bit of the foam to access that servo. And the cowl, the motor mounted very well, very sturdy. 2 screws, and one in the front and the back, held it in very nicely. The control horns. There's 4 control horns. 4 screws every control horn. I was missing 8 of them. And in the package I found an extra nose wheel, which doesn't even match the one on the aircraft here. So I think this was in replace of the screws. I had to go down to my hobby shop and get, because the screws are very small. You probably won't have anything laying around that small. So I had to go down to the hobby shop and buy a package of them. Now, the receiver mounts in this compartment right here. And the compartment, I didn't like the way it fit. I had to trim it out with an X-Acto knife to make it fit, and it was kind of like loose. So I put some clear cellophane tape on there just to secure that. Now the same with the battery hatch. The battery hatch has 2 little clips on here, but for security, I would put a bead of tape around here too. Just lay some cellophane tape around this area here to keep that hatch from opening up, because if it ever opened up and the battery came out, you'd be in big trouble. Next, I found that the receiver, they almost plug into a channel 1. This is not the receiver that came with the plane. This is another one. I'll show you what happened. The top casing had too much plastic on this one end. This is channel 1, and it just just about covered the pin. So what I had to do is take the top casing off of here and cut out an area right on the side here, right about in here, just a little bit, trim it back so that clip with the harness would fit in that one location. And another thing that they don't mention in the manual is the antenna wire. The antenna wire, you should not roll up and just stick it in the hatch with the receiver. The antenna wire must be out exposed, and it must be running down this way. I ran it down to the from the belly all the way down to the tail and up through the top end of the fuselage down, and I taped it to about here. And this is how long that wire is. But do not by any means coil that wire up or roll it up or tie it up and stick it in the receiver compartment, because you'll lose range on it. Okay. Now, here's the manual. It doesn't really vague on a lot of things, and these are the steps, and this is what the manual looks like. And it says glue the canopy, install and fix the landing gear. It's just very short, and doesn't really tell you a whole lot. It doesn't mention anything about the receiver wire, how to run that. But what I like about this manual is you can, if you mix epoxy, you can take pages and use it for epoxy. We'll file this. Now, when I plugged it in, the plane had a lot of power. It was actually wanted to come out of your hand. It was just unbelievable power. I loved it, and I don't think this will give me any problems in flight. I think it'll fire nicely. The charger. Here's the charger they give you. There's two plugs in here, one for 11.1 volts and one for 7.4. And it's a DC charger. It's not an AC or DC, so you'd have to, plug this into your car battery on the field. And that's about it. Overall, I like the way the plane went together. Everything lined up. Oh, and another thing I want to mention: when you're putting a plane together, you take a ruler and you go from the end of the trailing edge of your wing to the front leading edge of your stabilizer and measure the distance. This is 17.5. Now, they should measure the same on both wingtips. If they don't, when it goes still, just move it around a little bit until you get the measurements exact on the left hand side and the right hand side. And also, when you're putting this together, make sure that you look down the front end of the plane towards the back and make sure the horizontal fin is parallel with the leading edge of the wing. Make sure it's not, tilted down on one side or the other. And that'll make that flying plane. But overall, plane went together fine. It took me about 2 hours, maybe a little more, 2.5 hours. But I just double checked everything. Make sure you double check everything in your throws. I found on the elevator, the throws were backwards, so make sure before you fly this plane that all your controls are to the right. Don't take it for granted that that transmitter is set to the right movement. That's critical, because I know you want to get excited, you want to fly the plane for the first time, you wind up here, you go to pull up on the elevator, the plane wants to go down. So just be careful on that, check everything. Make sure you get a good flight check on everything. Power-wise, make sure your clips are nice and tight, make sure nothing's hanging out, make sure everything's taped up where it's not going to fall apart. In flight, like I said, make sure that battery box is taped up just for extra support. You never know, the vibration can knock these clips loose, and before you know, you lose a battery. But that's the report, and the next report I'll have is on flight characteristics. So for the next time, I'll see you then. And look up lithium polymer batteries, and you can get a pretty good idea of what to do and what not to do. It's very critical. And do not charge these batteries with a non-cat charger, by no means. And as far as that goes, I like the plane, I like the color. And the next thing we're going to do is take it for a test flight, and I'll come back with my report.